One analyst looked at the numbers. 5 minutes later, he knew the largest fund on Wall Street was a fraud, proving it took 4 hours. Bernie Madoff's returns barely moved, a straight line up in good years and bad. In real markets, that line does not exist. He handed the math to the regulators, again and again. For 9 years, nobody checked. It was the largest Ponzi scheme in history. $65 billion on paper that was never there, and one phone call could have ended it. Every Ponzi scheme dies on the same schedule. The moment new money can't cover the old. This is what that looks like at $65 billion. Bernie Madoff didn't promise to make you rich quick. He promised something more seductive, to never lose, steady returns, around 10 to 12% a year, calm in good markets and bad. He said he ran a split-strike conversion, a basket of large U.S. stocks hedged with options. It sounded technical, careful, boring. In episode 1, we named the first warning sign of every Ponzi: returns that are impossibly smooth. Madoff's were the smoothest on Wall Street. There was just one problem. In the advisory business, the trades weren't happening. No real investing. A back office printed monthly statements and trade confirmations for trades that were never made, and new investors' money quietly paid the people cashing out. So why did smart, careful money pour in? Because Madoff inverted the sales pitch. You couldn't just invest, you had to be let in. Exclusivity became proof, and between the investors and Madoff sat the feeder funds. Funds that gathered money and passed it on. The largest, Fairfield Century, alone funneled in over $7 billion. On its own filings, Madoff's advisory business listed just 23 clients. But those clients were funds, each hiding thousands of real people behind it. Tens of thousands of victims in over 100 countries, most of whom had never heard the name on the door. One person didn't need to be let in to know something was wrong. His name was Harry Markopolos, a financial analyst asked to reverse engineer Madoff's returns. He later said it took him 5 minutes to know it was a fraud, and about 4 hours to prove it. The math gave it away. Over the stretch he studied, Madoff had just 3 losing months, while the market had 26. His worst month was down 1.4%, the market's worst was down over 14. A line that calm doesn't exist in real markets. He went further. The options Madoff claimed to trade would have exceeded the entire market for those options. It wasn't unlikely, it was impossible. Markopolos handed this to the SEC in 2000, again in 2001, and in 2005 in a memo titled plainly, "The world's largest hedge fund is a fraud with about 30 red flags." Between 1992 and 2008, the SEC took 6 substantive complaints, ran 3 examinations and 2 investigations, and never once verified Madoff's trades with an outside party. One feeder statement claimed $2.5 billion of stock. The clearinghouse records showed Madoff actually held under 18 million. Less than 1%. One phone call would have ended it. Nobody made it. What the regulators couldn't do, the market did. In 2008, as the financial crisis hit, investors rushed to pull cash from everything, including their safest holding, Madoff. In a matter of weeks, clients asked for about $7 billion back. There was no $7 billion, there never had been. On December 10th, Madoff told his sons the truth. It was, in his words, one big lie, basically a giant Ponzi scheme. He was arrested the next day. He pleaded guilty to 11 felonies and was sentenced to 150 years. He died in prison in 2021. Tens of thousands of people lost what they had saved. Retirees, charities, foundations wiped out overnight. The real cash investors lost came to roughly $18 billion. Years later, Recovery has returned the large majority of it, one of the most successful in history. Nothing, though, for the gains their statements had promised. The uncomfortable part isn't that Madoff was a genius. He wasn't. Every warning sign from episode 1 was there in giant letters for years. One analyst saw the math. The system just never checked. A Ponzi scheme doesn't need to be brilliant. It only needs everyone to stop checking. Next time, one that wore the language of the future.